Not a sound. Just the thick hum of alien air and the throbbing pulse in his temples. Jax groaned as he blinked awake, staring up at a canopy of strange purple leaves. The last thing he remembered was the ship's warning. Unidentified gravitational pull, brace for impact. Then darkness. Now he was flat on his back, surrounded by trees that looked like broccoli on steroids, and were those giant footprints. He sat up groggily. His suit was torn, communicator fried, and everything hurt. Then he heard it, chanting. Low, rhythmic, and definitely not English. Before he could turn, a dozen enormous shadows loomed over him. 12-foot tall, muscle-sculpted women draped in tribal armor, and very little else surrounded him, spears in hand, eyes wide. One of them gasped and pointed. The Sacred One has the size. Excuse me? Jax croaked, shielding his face from the sun, and unintentionally giving them full view of the one body part that had apparently caught their interest. The tallest among them, with glowing green markings and a crown of bones, stepped forward. Her voice boomed. You have awakened, Key-bearer. You will now submit, or die. Jax blinked. I feel like I missed a memo here. They lifted him like a toy and carried him through vines into a village of enormous hammocks and fruit the size of beach balls. He kept trying to ask questions, but every time he said, I'm just a pilot. They giggled like he was flirting. Eventually, they dropped him onto a giant bed made of woven grass and feathers. A woman approached with what looked like a ceremonial staff. We must measure your handle. Listen, he stammered, backing up. I think you've got the wrong. She held up a glowing rod and ran it along his thigh. The end beeped. Everyone gasped. Jax looked down, then back up. That thing calibrated for Earth anatomy? Your proportions exceed expectations, the Queen declared. You may survive the 3 nights of proving. Wait, 3 nights of what? The trials of submission. He chuckled nervously. You mean combat trials? Sparring, right? You want me to fight? They didn't answer. Instead, a warrior handed him a steaming cup. Drink this. It will help you rise. He sniffed it. Smelled like fermented coconut and regret. Lady, I don't need help rising, I just need a ride home. She smiled. You'll rise just fine. That night, he lay in the oversized bed, staring at the woven ceiling. Every now and then, a tribal woman peeked in through the leaves, sighed dramatically, and left. He swore one of them licked her lips. This has to be a dream, he muttered. Or a weird side effect of oxygen deprivation. The next morning, he was awakened by drums and a fresh goblet of that suspicious jungle juice. His protest was cut short when a voice purred. Time to prepare for insertion. He shot upright. For what now? The ritual. The first trial begins at Moon Peak. Listen, I don't want to insert anything into anyone. I'm really more of a dinner and a movie kind of guy. But they weren't listening. 2 warriors massaged his shoulders while another rubbed oils into his feet, whispering. He must be relaxed. Too much tension in the handle leads to failure. Jax just closed his eyes and sighed. This is either heaven or the setup to a really weird lawsuit. As the sun dipped low, torches were lit, and the village gathered. Jax was presented before the Queen once more. She extended her hand, palm glowing with tribal tattoos. You will enter the Hall of Proof tonight. Only the worthy rise. Only the bold submit. Jax leaned in and whispered. Just so we're clear, when you say submit. She smirked. All meanings. All positions. All possibilities. Oh boy. She turned to the tribe. Let the proving begin. He was escorted into a vast chamber with echoing acoustics and strange symbols. A scroll was handed to him. What is this? He asked. The moaning text. Read it aloud. Stir the ancient spirits. He squinted. Place the seed where longing drips. Is this a sacred prophecy or alien erotica? They stared reverently. He cleared his throat and continued. Stroke the handle, until the fire within rises. I swear this is a space hub script. A tremor went through the chamber. The Queen gasped. He reads with power! Jax rolled his eyes. Lady, back on Earth we call this dirty talk. The chamber lights glowed, and the scroll turned to ash. The women outside cheered. He endures! He rises! He stumbled out of the chamber, cheeks flushed. I don't even know what I just passed. The Queen took his hand. Your second trial begins tomorrow. Rest your body. Stretch your essence. He opened his mouth to object, but nothing came out. They handed him a pillow embroidered with strange symbols. He translated it with a scanner. It read, Stamina is sacred. He laughed until he cried. Before the Queen departed, she whispered, You may be small, but your spirit is massive. He lay back in bed and stared at the stars through the cracks in the ceiling. I just wanted a cargo run. Now I'm the key to some intergalactic performance art. He reached down, adjusted himself, and muttered, Better not disappoint the tribe. Somewhere outside, a drumbeat began again. Tomorrow was round 2. Jax woke up to the sound of tribal horns and the scent of roasted alien fruit mixed with something smoky and suspiciously aphrodisiacal. His first thought was simple: how was this his life now? His second was more pressing: why was he already oiled up, and why were his feet being massaged by someone with forearms thicker than his thighs? Your second proving awaits, one of them said, kneading him like dough. I still haven't figured out what I was proving the first time, he muttered. A goblet was shoved in his hand. Same spicy jungle juice. Elixir of endurance, they called it. He was convinced it was just some sort of alien pre-workout, or the galaxy's most illegal aphrodisiac. He gulped it. Not because he trusted them, but because the last time he refused, a woman twice his size had threatened to forcefully awaken his inner beast. Within minutes, a procession had formed. Warriors lined up with ceremonial staffs shaped like, well, he didn't want to describe them out loud. In the center of the arena stood the Queen, regal and terrifying, holding what looked like an alien lie detector covered in feathers. You have read the sacred words, she proclaimed. Now we test your grip. Jax blinked. You want me to shake hands with it? She smiled slowly. You must awaken the staff of worthiness with your touch alone. He looked down at the metallic rod on a pedestal pulsing with faint blue light. It's like some twisted galactic flashlight test. He stepped forward, placed one hand on it, and waited. Nothing. He rubbed it gently. Still nothing. Harder, one of the elders whispered. He looked around. You realize how weird this is, right? I'm not sure if I'm turning on a relic or initiating foreplay with a toaster. Then it began to glow. The tribe gasped. He looked back. Guess I'm just that good with my hands. The Queen raised both arms. He has begun the stimulation of knowledge. More chanting. More feathers. More confusion. Jax leaned against the pedestal. Okay, real talk, what exactly is this proving? A tall warrior stepped forward, eyes narrowed. Control. Endurance. Precision. Can your species deliver, under pressure? He almost laughed. Lady, I've survived 5 years of Earth dating apps. I was made for pressure. The Queen motioned for him to follow. They entered a temple filled with crystals and long, vibrating poles. One hovered above the floor, rotating slowly. She pointed. Ride the cylinder of harmony. He squinted. That sounds like something from a very different kind of video. She was serious. Balance. Strength. Rhythm. If you fall off, you fail. He sighed, mounted the floating pole, and instantly regretted every choice that led to this moment. It bucked, twisted, and spun slowly like a space-age bull. He gripped it tightly, adjusting his hips. Somewhere in the crowd, someone whistled. Your thrusting is deliberate, one warrior whispered with admiration. He replied through clenched teeth. I'm not thrusting, I'm surviving. After 5 awkward minutes, he dismounted, legs shaking, pride barely intact. The crowd erupted. Apparently, this was a sacred demonstration. A young warrior approached with a scroll and bowed. Your technique is recorded for future generations. Jax just nodded slowly. Great. That's all I've ever wanted, becoming intergalactic Kama Sutra material. Then came the next challenge. The tunnel of tests. It wasn't a tunnel. It was a narrow crevice between two vibrating crystal walls, and he was expected to slide through it with grace. The Queen explained. You must enter smoothly, not too fast, not too slow. Maintain friction, but stay centered. He stared at it. Are you all seriously not hearing yourselves? She nodded. The ritual is ancient. We call it the glide. He stripped down to the ceremonial loincloth they provided, one size fits none, and positioned himself at the entrance. Fine. But if I get stuck halfway, you better pull me out gently. The moment he slid in, soft moaning sounds echoed from the crystal walls. Apparently, they were sound reactive. Every grunt he made was amplified into melodic moans. He couldn't help but snort mid-glide. I'm never living this down. When he emerged, a tribal elder dabbed his forehead with a leaf. You're slicker than most. That's a weird compliment, he replied, exhausted. Nightfall came quickly. Back in his ceremonial quarters, he was offered a platter of glowing fruit and what looked like alien oysters. To prepare you for the third proving, the Queen said, lounging beside him. I'm starting to think you guys don't want a warrior. You want a, well, I'm not sure what word to use that wouldn't get censored. She smirked. We want a partner who can endure us. Many come. Few stay risen. He bit into the fruit. It was juicy, warm, and pulsing slightly. He didn't ask questions anymore. She studied him for a long moment. Your humor masks fear. He looked at her. Lady, if you were about to be the center of a 3-night alien mating ritual, you'd crack jokes too. But you remain. You rise again. He raised a brow. You really like that word, don't you? She leaned closer. It defines many things. Hope. Power. Length. Okay, that one's not subtle at all. She didn't move. Do you intend to finish the proving? He sipped the juice. At this point? Might as well. Can't exactly Uber back to Earth. She stood. Then sleep. Tomorrow, you either become legend, or you break. He watched her leave and laid back, staring up at the stars again. His muscles ached, his pride was bruised, but somehow, deep down, he felt like he was actually winning. Not in the obvious way, but in the fact that every joke, every quip, every sarcastic reply kept him sane in a situation no one on Earth would believe. As he drifted to sleep, one final thought hit him. I swear, if the next trial involves my tongue, I'm calling HR. Jax awoke sore, half covered in ceremonial oils, and fully aware that day 3 was going to be the weirdest of all. The third and final proving. The one they ominously called the submission. No matter how many times he asked for clarification, all he got were smirks, giggles, and statements like, the body will know when it's ready. Honestly, he wasn't sure if he was being tested, courted, or initiated into an alien kink cult. Breakfast was less of a meal and more of a pre-battle ritual. The Queen herself fed him slices of glowing fruit, explaining, You must not chew too fast. Submission requires patience and technique. He responded with, Right, because it's all in the pacing. She winked. He died a little inside. The moment he stood, 3 warriors escorted him through a vine-laced path toward what they called the Chamber of Release. That name alone gave him concerns. As they approached, drums pounded. The crowd chanted. A mist rose from the ground, smelling like eucalyptus and implied consent. The Queen stood at the entrance. You have risen. Twice. Now you must fall. To rise forever. He tilted his head. You people speak entirely in metaphors and euphemisms. Has anyone here ever just said something straight? We prefer it curved. He nearly choked. Yeah, of course you do. Inside the chamber, a glowing pedestal pulsed in rhythm with the drums. On it sat an object that looked like a helmet, a crown, or maybe some combination of both. She explained. This is the circlet of surrender. Place it upon your head, and the memories of all who submitted before you will enter. He muttered, "Oh, perfect. Mental ghost porn." He put it on. Immediately, his mind was flooded with visions, alien lovers, wild dances, strange fluids, and rituals that would make Earth's most extreme dating shows look like kindergarten. Through it all, one phrase echoed again and again. The key is not size, but rhythm. He yanked the crown off and stumbled. That was intense. And somehow sticky. The Queen offered him a towel. "You are ready." She led him to a raised platform. The tribe gathered. The Queen raised her hands. "Tonight, he will either fully submit, or be broken by our needs." Jax climbed onto the platform, feeling every eye on him. "I'm just a delivery pilot. I bring space coffee to miners. How did I end up becoming an alien fertility idol?" The Queen stepped closer. "You have one final challenge, the ritual of echo." She clapped. From behind the throne, a series of drums emerged, each larger than the last. "You must strike the rhythm of connection. Your beat must match our hearts." He stared. "So you want me to drum, with feeling?" "Yes. And if the rhythm pleases us, you will be granted the highest honor." "What happens if I mess up?" "We cry. And then we crush you." He rolled his shoulders, picked up the sticks, and started tapping. The beat was awkward at first, then steadier. He found a pattern, a rhythm. Fast, then slow. Build up, then pause. The tribe swayed. Hips moved. Breathing changed. He whispered under his breath, "I swear this is just foreplay with percussion." After 5 minutes, the Queen stepped forward, breathing heavily. "You feel. You adapt. You endure." A warrior handed him a scroll. It unraveled with a gust of wind, revealing one final statement. "To submit is not to surrender, but to share. To endure, not just withstand, but connect." He laughed. "That's surprisingly deep for a sex cult wrapped in feathers." Then came the final test, connection through silence. The Queen placed her palm on his chest. No words. No movement. Just presence. He stood still. 1 minute. 2. 5. No jokes. No smirks. Just eye contact. Vulnerability. Finally, she whispered, "You understand." He nodded. "Yeah. You're not testing strength. You're testing if I can respect your rhythm. Your space. Your power." She smiled. "And you do." The crowd erupted. Feathers flew. Horns blared. Somewhere, a baby cried, though it was probably just a bird. The Queen turned to the crowd. "He has submitted with strength, risen with grace, and drummed his way into our hearts." Jax raised a hand. "So, does this mean I can go home?" "Not yet," she replied. "Now comes the ceremony of sharing your knowledge." He gulped. "You mean?" "Yes. Show us what your kind calls pillow talk." He exhaled. "All right. Rule 1. Always ask before you grab something." They sat around him, listening like students. He drew diagrams in the sand. Used fruits for metaphors. They gasped when he explained Earth's sarcasm and laughed when he taught them how to flirt without threatening dominance. "Sometimes," he said, "a compliment is better than a conquest." The Queen leaned in. "And sometimes, conquest is the compliment." He held up a finger. "Only if both sides agree." A warrior raised her hand. "What is foreplay?" He laughed. "That's a whole semester." Night turned to dawn. By the time the lessons ended, the Queen stepped forward. "You have not only endured, but educated." He bowed. "What can I say? I rise to the occasion." She touched his shoulder. "We name you, Sacred Key of Rhythm." He grinned. "Catchy. Beats my old nickname, Guy Who Spilled Coffee on Mars Governor." They lifted him onto a throne. Feathers, chants, gifts. And yet, in all the absurdity, Jax realized something: these women weren't savages. They were just structured, ceremonial, and deeply repressed. Until now. He hadn't just survived. He'd changed them. With jokes, charm, and the occasional pelvic metaphor. His last thought before being paraded around the village was simple. Earth's gonna need a bigger therapist for me. Jax sat on the throne, feather crown slightly crooked, ceremonial sash draped over one shoulder like a toga made of leaves and implications. The celebrations from the night before were still echoing in his bones, dancing, drumming, and more suggestive toasts than any human liver should endure. He'd done it. Survived the proving. Redefined submission. And somehow, turned alien fertility rites into a TED Talk on emotional intimacy. Now came the part no one explained: what happened after the final submission. The Queen approached with her usual regal stride, though this time her tone was softer. You have risen in our eyes. Your body proved strong, your rhythm unmatched. But more importantly, your words, they've changed us. Jax raised a brow. So I get a medal or a planet named after me? You get something better, she said. Choice. He blinked. Wait. You're telling me I can choose to stay or leave? She nodded. Few are ever offered such freedom. Most simply become part of the tribe. Jack stood, sore in places he didn't know had nerve endings. I gotta admit, I didn't see that coming. We rarely allow it, she said. But you taught us consent, humor, vulnerability. You shared yourself without needing to conquer us. He chuckled. I think we both know I didn't have much of a choice early on. But you turned obligation into opportunity. Performance into presence. Submission into strength. He took a deep breath. You know what's wild? I actually learned something, too. About listening. About trust. And maybe, just maybe, that it's okay to not be in control all the time. She tilted her head. So, your decision? He looked out at the gathered tribe. Dozens of towering warriors who once saw him as a key, now looking at him like a mentor, or at least the guy who rewrote their mating manual. He thought about Earth. About the loneliness of space runs, vending machine meals, and awkward first dates with people who ghosted him halfway through dessert. Then he thought about the jungle fruit, the laughter, the drumming, and yes, even the awkward oil massages. I want to go home, he said finally. But I want to leave something behind. The Queen stepped forward. Name it. Consent, he said. Make it sacred. Not just in rituals, but everywhere. Teach your people to ask, to listen, to respect. Make connection something both sides build, not something one side proves. She placed her palm over his heart. Then so it shall be. Let the sacred key return to his realm, bearing knowledge and humor. Within hours they prepared his shuttle. Fully repaired, upgraded, and stocked with enough alien snacks to make a galactic dietitian weep. As the crowd gathered for farewell, the Queen raised her voice. Let it be known across stars, he submitted not with weakness, but with wit. He rose not by dominance, but by understanding. Jax gave a two-finger salute. Guess I'll be remembered for more than just my proportions. One warrior shouted. Tell Earth women we're open for diplomacy. Another added. And drumming lessons. He climbed aboard the shuttle, engine humming to life. As the canopy closed, he looked back one last time. Not at the throne, or the rituals, or even the Queen. But at the laughter. The change. The idea that a simple cargo pilot could alter a civilization just by being unapologetically human. The ship took off. Stars streaked by. He leaned back in the pilot's seat, cracked open a fizzy alien drink, and sighed. Space is weird. But at least it's never boring. Back on Earth, debriefing took hours. No one believed him, of course. He gave a diplomatic report full of vague descriptions and technical jargon. But somehow, copies of his scroll illustrations leaked. Within weeks, the internet dubbed him the Rhythm Whisperer. Memes exploded. Someone even made a workout app inspired by the glide. Jax returned to his usual runs, now with a cult following of fans requesting advice on everything from emotional connection to rhythmic endurance. He answered every question the same way. Start slow. Listen hard. And don't forget to laugh. Months later, a beacon from the tribe appeared on his private channel. Just 3 words. We remember rhythm. It ended with a recording, tribal drums playing a beat unmistakably similar to Earth's classic slow jam tempo. He laughed so hard, he nearly flew past Jupiter. Somewhere between stars, one man had managed the impossible. Not by brute strength. Not by conquest. But by being honest. Awkward. Funny. And incredibly human. He didn't just survive the proving. He proved that even in the weirdest corners of the universe, connection is king. And humor? Well, that's universal. His final log entry before bed read: "Next time, I'm bringing a translator, a playlist, and a whole lot of lube. Just in case."